Hello Bishes! Before I get to the video, I just wanted to remind y'all that Ana Luisa currently has a sale going on in their store, so if you're still looking for any last minute goodies or gifts for your friends or family, definitely check them out. I am currently wearing the heart necklace that I mentioned on my previous video. I felt like it matched today's outfit and everything, so yeah. Check out Ana Luisa and let's get straight to this video. So most of you who watch my videos are probably familiar with my third year film from CalArts called Endlessly. It's my third year film from CalArts and it's nowhere near perfect, and it was definitely a learning experience for me during my time at school. But I thought it would be a cool idea to share the sketchbook that helped me plan out that film. And this sketchbook is also not even complete. I only used like the first third of it, but ironically this sketchbook was actually from my mom because we went to Greece together as a vacation and she picked up the sketchbook for me as a surprise, and I thought that because she got me this sketchbook I wanted to do something involving my mom, and that is kind of what planted the seed for my third year film, because I was like, I want to plan out my third year film in this sketchbook, but I don't know what to do it about, so I guess I'll just talk about my mom, or just talk about the relationship between me and my mom. Everything between Nicole and her mother are just based on fiction. It has never actually happened between my mother and I in real life. It is just based on the idea of how teenage angst can sometimes negatively impact the important relationships in your life, such as the one you might have with your mother, and just overcoming your own inner demons and realizing that your mama loves you. Also, second of all, I am very much aware that my character looks like Twilight Sparkle and Stalking from Panty and Stalking. Literally every day whenever I open my iPad, I would always get a new notification saying, she looks like Twilight Sparkle, she looks like Stalking from Panty and Stalking, as if I did not read 5,000 other comments already that said the same shit, but it's alright y'all, I'm pretty sure we could all use a reminder from time to time. But anyway, let's get straight to this sketchbook tour as I discuss my thoughts and process from about 4 years ago now. Wow, that's a long time. So here's the sketchbook that my mom got me from Greece, and it is from Tilt, or Mr. Tilt. So I'm pretty sure if you look this up online, you can find a sketchbook like this. It is from Greece again, so not sure how available it is online, but yeah. Also, if you're wondering what this is on my hand, I was just simply testing out my eyeliner this morning, so do not fret. But yeah, so anyway, this is the sketchbook that I used for my third year film at CalArts, and when we open it, you can see I kind of pretty much conceptualized the main parts of the film. This is the character Kenny, which is just, you know, a gourami fish. I just pretty much looked at images of a gourami and smacked the type of facial expressions or character design I want on him, and yeah, I chose a gourami just simply because that is the type of fish I had as a young girl, and for some reason this gourami I had actually jumped out of the fish tank one time like it was committing suicide, and sadly it passed away because of that reason. I guess that's why fish don't really belong in bowls or fish tanks, but yeah, unfortunately that fish passed away, but I guess the fact that it kind of flew out of the bowl out of its own will kind of inspired me to create Kenny, the gourami fish, in my film. And yeah, here are just some thumbnails of, I don't remember what this is for. I think it was just noting like beats, 3 beats of something. I was just planning out how I want the animation to be when Nicole goes through her acid trip. No, she was not actually going through an acid trip. She was just, I don't know. Sometimes you just want to animate something beautiful, but it's always got to be associated back to drugs. Here's when I was planning what lines would refer to what action in the animation, and clearly most of you know this moment where Kenny is about to throw Nicole off the swing and then suddenly she goes through this whole transformation sequence. And the reason why I wanted to make it a little bit trippy is because I feel like it's such a wholesome topic to just learn to appreciate your mom that I just wanted something at least to balance that out so it's not overly cheesy and there's something interesting to watch. So I really wanted to have her go through this funky transformation scene back to becoming a child or a baby again. And yeah, I kind of just made notes of some of the important poses that I want to be seen throughout the whole transformation sequence, because I feel like sometimes when you animate things just go by so fast that you just don't even remember what happened. But I feel like good, strong animation normally have strong poses that you can remember, even though everything is going by at like 24 frames per second. So yeah, you can see some of these poses that are in here reflected back in the film itself. And then the next page here is when I was planning out the mom's design, and I think during this phase I was still kind of going through an edgier anime/western vibe without the noses and stuff, which is very similar to Panty and Stocking. And for those of you wondering, yes, Panty and Stocking has been a huge influence on my art. Like, females having an edge is something that I feel like we could use more of a voice of in animation and whatnot. But yeah, so here's also just some thumbnails of when I was just planning out how the ending was gonna turn out. Like, this was just something that I was not even really considering that seriously. It was just a brainstorming moment that actually ended up in the film itself, just because I was brainstorming how to work out the whole ending of the film, or how to transition to the ending of the film. And then on this page was when I was imagining after Nicole falls back into the water. Originally, this is not in it anymore. I was thinking of having all these like little bath toys in the water, just because, you know, when you're a little kid, you used to have these bath toys that you just play with when you're taking a bath. And I thought it would be really cool just to have that visually, but realistically, you know, when you're a student and you're working on a student film and you only got so much time in the world to do it, you kind of have to realize when you're being a little bit overly ambitious and when you're just kind of creating things that are not really the main point of it. Like, yes, this definitely does support the idea of childhood, but I feel like at the end of the day, I had to remind myself, if I want to get this film done, I can't overly focus on small details if I really want to get the main point across in the film. So yeah, that's that. And on this page is when I kind of have more planning out about what to do with the whole transformation sequence and going through the times of Nicole and her mother. And here you can see is when Nicole was getting picked up out of the water by her mom. And I just like to make notes of things, and I kind of knew what song I was going to use. So I would make notes of the whoop whoop whoops just to be like, oh, after this part is when you hear the next whoop whoop whoop, and then just go to this part of the scene. And yeah, this was kind of one of the films where I was originally inspired by the song first. So after the song came the ideas. So I really timed out the animation and the scenes to how the song was playing out. And then here is where I have planning out for the voice actors posters, because in CalArts you pretty much just create a poster that you will hang around in school, and people from the acting classes and people from the acting majors or people that just in general want to audition for your film have the ability to. So what you would normally do is just have an image of all the characters for what roles, and then you would have these little tags here for just your contact information so they can pull the stub and just, you know, contact you later on. But yeah. And then next I just have a continuation of the transformation sequences, and you can just see how I was just planning out what moment means what in the film. And what I really just wanted to do with this was just showcase time lapse through these experiences, through funky transformations, I guess. Like, I wanted to just have these small moments of Nicole and her mom growing up together through these funky transformations, and just have it again be a little bit more edgy and not just, you know, emotional sappiness just passing by, although that is also effective if that is what you're going for. So then after the whole transformation sequence is when things change and start to take a negative turn, or not a negative turn, but just kind of facing reality where I wanted Kenny to just kind of represent the universe. Even though he's just a fish, the reason why you see him become a cloud, the sun, and whatnot, this bitch sees it all. He's the one who sees everything through a third-person perspective. It's kind of like an image of God, although I am not that religious, to be honest, but I just thought in the song, this part normally says something along the lines of, "You are my universe," so I wanted to just play with that line, I guess, and that is just kind of what came out of it. Like, again, I just kind of went with my subconscious and just things that I wanted to indulge in. So I didn't really think out too much about what the meaning of everything is and if everything needs to have a meaning, even though I just made it seem like it had a meaning. But yeah, here's just pretty much how I planned out that portion of the film. So this is when Nicole is kind of in her deep, dark subconscious with all her other versions of herself. It's kind of just like your negative subconscious with all your inner demons. And she sees her mom walking away in the distance. And Nicole's just like swamped by all the girls, which are herself, around her, and she's trying to get to her mom, but the only people that are trying to prevent her from getting to her is no one else other than herself. So here are all the other Nicoles saying things that are, you know, demonizing in her mind and just saying things to her mom. And at the end of the day, it's not really Nicole, it's her own inner demons, it's her own teenage angst. It's just all this shit she's going through that's making her project this negativity onto her mother. So Nicole's starting to get fed up, and she gets more urgent, trying to run to her mom, and then she ultimately trips over herself, who becomes Kenny, which I feel like is another reflection of her mind, who ultimately knows what's right. So one of the Nicoles kind of just becomes Kenny, and it's just like, it's time for you to shut up and listen, because even though Kenny is a fish, and he kind of just seems to be like this external force that is just witnessing this whole event, I feel like a part of him is still a part of Nicole's mind and the part of her that knows what's the right thing to do. So yeah, that is kind of my pitch for this whole section. So then after Nicole goes through this whole ordeal, she kind of realizes the right thing to do is to apologize and to just put away your, you know, ego and whatnot. So she finally yells, "I'm sorry," to her mother, and that's when her mom kind of responds to her. And that's when we transition back to a time in life when Nicole and her mom were still young and, you know, things were all right during this moment in life, you know, before the whole teenage angst and hormones that teenagers go through. And it is back to when her mom got her Kenny as a pet for the first time, which is just a wholesome little memory that Nicole can remember, and just remember why that at the end of the day, it's not her mom that she should be mad at when she's done all of this for her. So yeah, that is that portion. And here was just me, you know, kind of just figuring out the character designs more. I could have made it really exaggerated, but I don't know, I just feel like in an alternate universe, if I had my own team of animators, I could have, you know, done things more on model, but at the same time, I feel like I animate a lot faster when I have more organic character designs. So even though these shapes are really edgy, I feel like I naturally just went back to something that was kind of a balance of shape-drivenness to organicness. And here is just, you know, some doodles I did actually during class of just me exploring Nicole. I mean, I feel like I kind of understood her character design pretty easily, so I just did this out of boredom in class. And on this page, it's just kind of me just planning out the layouts and the backgrounds, because what I did to expedite my process was basically I would just sketch out the background on my sketchbook, and I would take a picture of the sketch on my phone, then open up the sketch in Photoshop, and then just go over it with, you know, the shapes and the line art, because I felt like this process made it a lot faster for me, especially since I wasn't glued to a Cintiq all day, every day. And I felt like doing this allowed me to, you know, take some time off the computer and just draw in my sketchbook. But this was also before I had an iPad, because, you know, in an alternate universe, if I did have my iPad, I would have just used my iPad instead of just my sketchbook, because again, I just hate sitting at a desk all day every day, and I just need a reason to get off the screen. So yeah, here are just more backgrounds and just what I was planning out for the layouts and stuff that I ultimately just imported into Photoshop and went over. Yeah, this is pretty much the interiors of my house that I was just studying to put into the film. But yeah, you might recognize some of these layouts from the film and whatnot. Bing, bing, bing. Yeah, these are really simple layouts, but at the end of the day, it did save me a lot of time to just be able to draw it in my sketchbook, import it into Photoshop, and just go over it so that by the time I have to sit on my computer, I don't have to think about this part. And that is actually the end of my sketchbook for my film, and this portion is actually for another idea that I had in mind to do post CalArts, but we'll see if we ever get to this, because this was just an idea I had for my own indulgent film again, I guess, but afterwards there's pretty much nothing else. I pretty much only used this beginning portion to plan out those portions of my film, and regarding this, it's totally unrelated, but yeah, so that is the sketchbook I had from my third year film, and you know, I hope that y'all learned something from this. It was pretty fun to make that film, and it was definitely the most indulgent film I had throughout all of CalArts, because it just was the one film that I felt like I was just going to do whatever the fuck I wanted to do in. But yeah, that is my film from third year, and this is the sketchbook that I again used for it. I hope y'all learned a thing or two. Like, if you ever want to save time with just sketching things, just draw it in your sketchbook, take a photo of it, import it into Photoshop, and it will save you a lot of mental energy the next time you sit on your screen. And also, just don't be afraid to plan things out, and it's okay if a lot of the things you do plan out don't make it into the film, because a lot of the things I drew in here ended up not even being in the film, but it's okay. It's really cool to see why you made decisions, even though they might have not been the most optimal decisions, but it was the best for that moment in your life. But yeah, that's just kind of the process of filmmaking and making your own stories in general, is that you're gonna end up having to kill a lot of your own babies. Anyway, thank you for watching this video. I hope y'all have a great Thanksgiving if you celebrate it, and I'll see y'all in the next one, and stay wholesome, bitches.